Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. And if you love college football, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Folks, there is much to talk about tonight on the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. We're going to analyze and scrutinize the early returns from bowl season in terms of performance by Big 12 conference teams. Following last night's Oklahoma State loss to a Wisconsin team that midseason fired a coach and finished ahead of only Nebraska and Northwestern in a putrid Big 10 West division. I get to welcome in a new co-host tonight who talks almost as much trash as I do. And I get to give him a hard time about a certain safety who signed with the Sooners during last week's early signing period. So, without further ado, welcome in now Coach Philip Roybal. Coach Roybal, welcome to the show. Welcome to the team. Appreciate you joining up.
Absolutely, Jason. It's great to be here, and I'm humbled by the fact that you've invited me to co-host with you.
Hey, man, we've always had a lot of fun together. If any of you that don't know, my early sports writing years was done in Hobbs, New Mexico. It was also the first year for this coach coming from Dallas Skyline High School in Dallas. And, we had a lot of fun there, kind of learning the ropes in Hobbs for both of us. And we've always had a lot of good banter back and forth. I figured you'd be a great co-host with me since Bryce isn't with us right now. But I appreciate you coming in, and welcome to the show again. Already got a lot of fans in here. Something I didn't bring up in the opening. Just today, Trace Ford from Oklahoma State, defensive lineman, defensive tackle, which is what OU is really looking for, did transfer. He did transfer to Oklahoma, so got a lot of Okie Light fans upset. They should be upset, but more so about that trash performance last night, don't you think?
Wow. Yeah, they played pretty bad, but they played bad for the last 6 games, right?
That's kind of what's been going on. Although, and one of the funniest things I thought that kind of came out of that was at the end of it. I don't know if you saw the video where the guy was asking about if he was going to be making any staff changes, and he flipped out and said he's going to take away access and all that kind of stuff. But I really felt like, if anything, the reporter, if it's me, why are you still going to be coach? OSU fans are so mad. Hey, isn't it great? Isn't it great? It just doesn't bother me at all. Just doesn't bother me at all. I love it. Who's getting out of fan wishing injury? Who did that? I'm missing something. Who did that? I must have missed that. Okay. OSU fans wanting Ford to get hurt. Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't see that.
Oh, wow.
But that doesn't surprise me. That's just about the level of crap that you end up seeing especially on Twitter, guys. And this recruiting period was huge. This is a big move today to get Trace Ford. I promise you, everybody's going to be pissed. Everybody's pissed over there at OSU. But that's what the biggest need right now has been for Oklahoma is what? Along that defensive line.
Hey, everybody's flying out of OSU.
Huh?
Everybody's flying out of OSU.
Listen, it makes you wonder why. That's a good segue, Coach. I appreciate that. That it makes you wonder why Mike Gundy's not flying out of OSU. Why he has a revolving 5-year schedule to go with this complete. I mean, the dude, it's like underachievement 101 all the time. And the recruiting class, I mean, it didn't even look like they were trying. Your top ranked player in that class is a quarterback. He's a 3-star, ranked 466th in the country. That's their best player on paper. Now, I know that 3 stars those are a lot of your heart and soul of football teams. I agree with that part. Now, what I would tell you is they love to tell you that they don't have the resources and that they can't do that. This is all just coach speak crap that came from him. He ought to be a politician because he can talk people into all kinds of excuse my language, folks. But listen, to me, I don't get it. And then you show up there last night and, I mean, Wisconsin's garbage. It's garbage. And of course, you didn't have Spencer Sanders. You didn't have a lot of these guys. But why is that? I'll tell you why it is. Because a lot of those dudes that left, they left because they were tired of mediocrity. And then no answers for why you're losing. You know, you have the TCU game, and what does he say afterwards? Well, that one wasn't as fun as the last few, you know, and they lost because of rushing. You know, bro, you were up 24-7 early in the second quarter. You could have put that game away, and you let TCU hang around and beat you, and inadvertently sent them on a run. You know, we talked a little bit about that earlier too. I mean, TCU, are they as good as they look? We're going to find out a little bit about them. But I tell you, there was a lot of things that happened over that 3-week span that they could have went the other way, and TCU could have been in a whole different situation. I think that goes to a lot to how competitive this league was this season. That any given weekend you could get beat. You know, I think even Kansas. I mean, what a turnaround for those guys. You know what I mean? What a turnaround. I mean, they had 1 win a year ago, or 2 wins a year ago.
Well, they might have had 3 in the last 10 years. No, I'm kidding. But
yeah, but hey, I'll tell you what. When you talk about a quarterback that could get it, you know, Jalen Daniels, before he got hurt, those guys were humming, man.
Yeah,
they were humming. But anyway, you know, the hope being is that you see OU do his thing. But what is this with OSU? I don't understand. Why and the fans are not even holding this guy accountable for the product that he's putting on the field, the lack of killer instinct. A year ago, you catch a win in the Bedlam game. You already blown out Baylor in the regular season, and you go and lay an egg in the Big 12 championship game when you're going to go to the playoff if you win, you know? And it's always like that. If it's an important game, he don't win it. And you're not winning on the recruiting grounds. Why? Because from everything I can tell, he just doesn't put a lot of time in it. He just doesn't put a lot of time in it. And you're going to tell me that when you've played with Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas and guys like that and been a part of a winning program or whatever, and, you know, you're a quarterback yourself, you can't go get a 5-star quarterback to come and work with you? You've had guys like Mason around, Mason Rudolph. You've had, you know, who was Brandon Whedon, you know, guys that played in the NFL. You've sent guys to the NFL to play quarterback. You know? IL is the new sheriff? Huh? Who's the new sheriff? Anyway, to me, it's just a weird deal, man. It's a weird deal. And then he's in there worried about. He should have been more worried about his own job, but apparently he doesn't have to. So to me, my question is, Coach, this is the team that should be stepping to the front of the line in the Big 12. And to me, they're not. They're not going to. OU and Texas are going to leave, and these guys are going to stay right where they are, middle of the pack, most of the time.
I'm not even sure they're going to be middle of the pack. If they continue in this direction and they don't make a change in their head coach, they could end up. People will say I'm crazy, but they could end up turning into what Kansas used to be.
Right. Right.
So they better get it turned around.
Who do you think's better, Lance Leipold or Gundy? I mean,
yes. And I tell you, there's a lot of things going on there in that program and a lot that we don't know about because you don't have that many players fly out of your program that quickly if they don't fit. They obviously do not feel good about what's going on there. And so those kids, those players that they have, they also talk to some of the recruits. The recruits reach out to them. And that's probably why you're seeing all these 3 stars and no 4 and 5 stars, because they don't want to come jump into the crap.
No. And I mean, nobody's even, and I think that Coach, and you would be able to, you can say this, Coach, kids need to be coached, and they don't even mind being coached hard. I can think of some of the guys that you were coaching at Hobbs that went on and played somewhere else. You were on Sean Sanders' tail. He needed that from you, right?
You have to coach kids hard, but every player is different, and you got to know how far you can take them, and that's an important piece there. But you've got to coach your players, and you got to coach them hard, and you got to teach them the little things. I always said this: the little things make the big things happen, and
right.
You stack enough little things on there, and they're going to be successful. And so you got to coach the hell out of them. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, the last time I checked, when I was coaching, I don't know if it's the same today, but they used to pay me to do that. So, I mean, you better coach them. And if you want to be successful, you better coach them. And if you want to be successful, you better recruit the hell out of them. And I mean, it's, again, the little things add up, and they're not.
And it seems like now is the time that you could recruit better to that state, because, okay, hey, even using the fact, hey, OU's out of here after 1 year. We have a chance to become the team in the Big 12. We want you to be a part of that. That doesn't seem like a tough pitch to me.
No.
I mean, it doesn't. And because the truth of it is that when you look at the rest of the league, I expect BYU is going to be, they're going to be the real deal because they've got a lot of backing. I expect that Houston has a lot of backing, and they've been pissed off for a long time for being left out of the Big 12 to begin with. They're going to come in and make noise, right? UCF has the biggest alumni base in the country, period. They have been undersold for a while. They've been, they felt like that they deserved more over the last few years. Josh was there and they were undefeated under him. They've done a lot of stuff. What I would say is, if you're Oklahoma State, you've had the team to do this, and you continue to not get it done. And then when you see that he's as nonchalant about it as he is, your head coach, how the hell are you going to expect the players to care? And the ones that do aren't going to stay, just like they didn't. Mason Cobb was a big loss for these guys, and so is Trace Ford. I know he had some injuries in the last few years or whatever. You're going to tell me you don't need a big guy like that can get to the quarterback? Because I think you do. And as much as I am not a Spencer Sanders guy, I think he's a walking turnover waiting to happen. He was good for them. He's won probably more football games for him than any other quarterback. So, to me, it's not good when you see those guys leave. It's just not. There's no way that it can be. And if you're telling me that all these 3-star guys, I was on the Locked On Oklahoma State podcast this week with Cody. And he was watching a lot of film on these guys and trying to find, obviously, positives in the guys that they were picking up. And they're known for doing what they do with a lot of 3-star guys, because they're not going to get the same guys that Oklahoma gets or whatever. I think there's a reason behind all that. I think that there's guys that you can. But I also don't see him out there putting in the work that he normally would put in to find those guys that are just underrated. It just doesn't seem like that's what he does.
Well, James, I think hit the nail on the head there, talking about he just doesn't, he's just not into it. It seems like he's, right, like James said, it looks like he's ready to retire. Well,
that happens.
I do. It won't take long for him to get retired.
Yeah, and the thing is like the longer that you continue with this 5-year revolving contract that renews every year. I mean, right now they owe him $40 million more. So right now, because he's at $8 million, and that was the thing that when I was on that podcast, you had these guys that were freaking out saying we're not going to get anybody better than him. For $8 million, you're not going to get somebody better than him that wants to be there. You know,
give me a chance.
That's silly to me. That is just silly to me. $8 million? That's a top 10 salary in college football. And usually that's reserved for guys that have done more than one conference championship and 3 wins over Oklahoma in 18 seasons. I don't get it. I'm never going to get that.
Jason, I think sometimes these college coaches, I think they lose some focus because they are getting paid that $8 million, the $9 million, and some of them tend to lose focus. And obviously Nick Saban he doesn't lose focus, and right. He's getting paid.
Yeah, but that's rare.
But we're talking, about, and that's what I was going to say. I think you get some of these other coaches that start making that kind of money, and they feel like, you know what, I'm there. I'm in the promised land. And let's be honest, just like you said, he's set for the rest of his life, no matter what happens, whether they keep him or they let him go. He's set.
They're going to have to pay him to get him out of there.
Again, those people, those coaches that are true competitors, they're gonna get after it like they were making $100 instead of $5 million. And so I think sometimes they get complacent, and I think he's there.
Yeah, I think that's clear. I mean, well, and when one of the things that I said on there, I was like, you've got all these people that are arguing for him, which is crazy to me. And you have some fans of OU that were calling for Venable's head after he lost 3 games. After losing 3 games, they were calling for his head. And I'm not saying that that's all a large portion, but it was a portion. And, that's the difference. They don't want to let him go out the door at all because he's got them convinced that they're not going to do better than that.
But, I think this goes back and I'm not an OU fan, but it's right. About expectations. And OU has had high expectations forever.
Sure.
OSU, not quite so much. And I chuckle when you call them Okie Light because that's exactly what they are. They're Okie Light, and they're getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And so,
by the year.
Yeah. So again, part of that, with fans, administration, players, expectations. You got to step those up if you're going to compete at the level. Like you said, they should be the big dogs in the Big 12.
Absolutely. There's no reason why you shouldn't. And particularly when you've already had a run of it, you've been having to play against these other teams. There's no reason why they shouldn't. We'll move on from that. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, you know why? Because he's been there the longest, Matt. Mike Gundy is the winningest coach of all time. I get that. But don't get it twisted in thinking that he's done the best job. You know why he is? Because the other guys got other jobs and went elsewhere and won national championships. Jimmy Johnson, Les, guys like that. That's the whole thing. This is not the same thing. And this guy is not moving the program forward anymore. That's just how I feel about it. But hey, I'm not an Okie Light fan, so they can keep him forever as far as I'm concerned. But it's funny to me that the way that this all goes down, and then he gets this constant, the me show. I'm so great and this and that, and it's just, oh man, it's just crazy. Yeah. Yeah, Saban retiring. Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I know everybody's been saying that Saban's going to retire for the last 3 years or what. As soon as they don't win one, he's going to leave. Well, crap, that just makes me want to win more.
If he dies this year, he'll retire. But that's the only way I think he'll ever retire is if he dies.
That's possible. That's possible.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
terrible to say, but I, I mean it with all due respect. He's, you
No.
know, he's a winner, and he'll always be a winner.
Yeah,
And
because he
talking
does
about,
it the way he wants it. Yeah, I mean, it's the process. It's like James said, it's
yes,
always been the process with him. Do your job. He's in the Belichick tree. Do your job, and let's do it the right way all the time. You still see him screaming, running up and down the sideline about little things, right?
and that's
Because
what
what
I
do you
was
say?
going to say.
Little things
You
turn
talk
into big
about the
things.
little things, and you know, and I don't know how much truth there is to this, but I've even been told, but by some of my buddies in the coaching profession, that like for the bowl games, they play that whole process out before the game is ever played. They pull up a bus like they're going to the locker room. He has the steps counted out as far as how it is how far to the locker room, and it's all about the process and the system. How many coaches have left his program to move on to bigger, or maybe not bigger, but bigger and better for themselves in
Right,
job.
right.
And how many coaches have come into that program and he continues to be successful? It's darn sure not just the coaches that he's bringing in. It's the system, and like James said, the process.
The process, and that's the whole point. The funniest thing, we'll get off of this right after that, but after they beat Texas this year, which Texas let them off the hook because Sark's a 500 coach too. But
Yeah.
after that, the whole week, I saw three different press conferences that week, and all week all they talked about was the amazing culture that he had built over his time at Oklahoma State. What do? They get smoked 48-0 that weekend against K-State because it was all love on me. And then look, they weren't prepared. And it's all excuses and talk, What, did I say something funny? I try. But listen, folks, if you're enjoying the program, I appreciate you guys all showing up. We got quite a few folks in here now. Man, we've already been almost going an hour too. If you are enjoying the show, please make sure you hit that like button for us. That helps out a lot with the algorithm. Also, we are getting so very close to monetization. The last I looked, we were at 952. So we have about 40 something to go. Please hit that subscriber button if you have not already done so. It's so awesome to finally, and we're way ahead of schedule where you probably should have been, starting off a channel this year. It generally takes about a year from what they say, but this last month has been just amazing. We have had over 8,000 watch hours this month just in our programming. I'm so excited about it. I appreciate everybody coming out. So please hit that subscriber button. 957 now. Thank you, Jimmy. Good to know. Share us with your friends as well. We'd appreciate that. If you'd like to help out in other ways, we do have the chip jar. You can see that there in the comment section. And also you can always buy podcast merchandise as well. That is coming through. It's also in that section as well. Just click that link, go in. There's some, I'm not going to tell you what everything says in there. It's for you to see. Some of it's pretty good stuff, but you can get the Lincoln Riley blocked me t-shirt. If you've been blocked, buy that sucker, because you know what? It's my badge of honor. I didn't even have to tweet at the dude to get blocked on Twitter from Lincoln. So, hey, it is what it is. I just speak the truth. That's all I do. So thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate you guys all coming in. Let's